This is Paul Schneiderman today on the 65th edition of Sports and Stuff on RainierAvenueRadio.world. Today, as my special guest, I have a longtime friend, Kevin Hill. Kevin is currently employed by the World Series champion Washington Nationals as their Senior Director of Sponsorship Activation. Did I get that title right, Kevin?
You certainly did, Paul. Thanks for having me. Great
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Before I go a little further with you, Kevin, I want to mention my engineer today and recognize him, James Gurd. James does a lot of stuff at RainierAvenueRadio.world. He also is the host of the After Dark show. We have a lot of good things going on at RainierAvenueRadio.world. We have shows hosted, besides myself in our sports department, shows hosted by Rick Dupree, Granville Emerson, and Ronald Laurent hosts a great show, Lidline Sports. Mazvita Marari hosts a show, Seattle Sports Weekly. Juan Cotto hosts a show. Mark Bryant hosts a fitness-based show. We also have lifestyle shows, political shows, music shows, and it's been fun to be part of the station now for a couple years. My show got started a little over 2 years ago. You can follow me on Twitter, plslaw.offices.com. You can follow me on Facebook. A bunch of my interviews are on my website, and some are on Mixcloud. We're in the process of getting more up real soon. Well, Kevin, let me get back to you. As mentioned, Kevin works for the World Series Nationals as the Senior Director of Sponsorship Activation, which we'll learn about a little later. Kevin has 2 degrees. He's a graduate of Santa Clara University. He also has an MA in Sports Management from Ohio State University. It's known as a great sports management program there. Kevin started working for the Nationals back in 2012. He's worked previously on the marketing side of the golf business. Kevin has been a personal friend for many years. We grew up in Northeast Seattle together, and we went to Roosevelt High School together. Kevin is the brother of Brian Hill, the son of the late Larry and Ann Hill, great family. And Kevin, thank you for coming on Sports and Stuff today. Just want to have a chance to learn more about your career. We're definitely going to have some Washington Nationals talk today.
Sounds great. Yeah, it's an exciting time back here in D.C. for sure.
There's a lot going on in D.C. as we speak, no doubt about it, Kevin. Well, Kevin, I've known you for many years, and I know about your background a little bit, but why don't you share with the listeners how you got into the sports marketing business and a little bit about your degree from Ohio State University in sports management?
Yeah, so after I got done with Santa Clara, I really gave some thought as to what I wanted to do with my career and knew that I was always passionate about sports. And was looking for a way to get into the industry. Obviously, I wasn't a former professional athlete, and so at the time, Ohio State had one of the top sports management programs in the country, and so was lucky enough to get in. And really, what Ohio State did for me was it opened up so many doors. Their alumni base is vast and spread throughout the country. And it just so happened that when I finished Ohio State, my first job was in the golf business, working for American Golf Corporation. And for those of you that don't know, American Golf is a golf course management and operating company, and they've got courses, public and private, spread throughout the country. And so that was sort of my first foray into the sports business. And from there, I moved on to a couple different large sports marketing agencies, Octagon and IMG, and slowly made my way up through the industry. You know, at the beginning, it was really all about sort of learning how to project manage and operate different projects for clients, and then eventually moved my way up into more of an account management role and really focused around strategy for those particular clients.
We've had a great run.
And then from there...
Go ahead.
What was that?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say from there, you know, I realized that I just didn't want to be a golf guy, and you know, so the opportunity to jump over into baseball presented itself to me, and you know, I've learned a lot since I've been here, and you know, have loved every minute of it.
Well, you're a good baseball player growing up, and I know you've always been a baseball fan, Kevin. Kevin, when you were at Ohio State, did you find the program and the sports management program a little more on the theoretical or practical side?
It was very practical, to be honest. You know, when you went in there, you really had a choice of going sort of 2 career paths. You could go down the college route, where you know you're your end goal might be becoming an athletic director, and several of my classmates went down that road. The other option was to go more of the professional route, which is the route that I pursued, knowing that I wanted to be more focused on sort of the professional side of the business. And so a lot of it was very hands-on. Having an internship was definitely a big part of that program. I worked at the local minor league hockey team called the Columbus Chill, which was pretty exciting. The ice arena there was called the Chiller, which was kind of fun. And so it was very practical, learning about best practices and how to run an event. What are the key components of putting together a sponsorship package? Those sorts of things.
A lot of skills. A lot of skills are. This is Paul Schneiderman, host of Sports and Stuff on Rainier Avenue Radio.World with sports marketing executive, a Washington National staff member, old friend of mine, Kevin Hill. So, Kevin, I mentioned in the introduction that you work as a senior director of sponsorship activation at Washington Nationals. Can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day duties in this position?
Certainly. So activation here at the Nationals, it's really the fun part of the organization. So essentially what that means is once we sell in a sponsorship, and it's my team that takes it over and makes sure that everything that we promised in that initial sales proposal is delivered. So I've got a team of 5 people that work underneath me, and each one of them manages anywhere from 15 to 20 clients. Those clients are range from the big ones that you would normally see on the outfield wall, the Coca-Colas, the Geicos, the Budweisers of the world, all the way down to the mom and pop ice cream and hot dog vendors. And each one of them has very specific goals and objectives that we need to achieve in order to ensure that they come back year over year. And so we spend a lot of time just making sure that we're measuring everything that we're doing and delivering on those objectives.
Kind of trying to, I assume, in that position with all the different variety of businesses you have, there's definitely some different personalities you encounter and different business backgrounds, I bet, huh?
Absolutely, and specifically being in DC, it's really interesting in that we work with a variety of different companies, and not everybody comes to the Nationals to become a sponsor for the exact same reason. So, our fan base here is very diverse. 42% of our fans are women. We have one of the wealthiest fan bases in all of Major League Baseball. We're super well educated. We have Capitol Hill and the military in our backyard. So, we're able to devise programs and packages and sponsorship assets that can really tap into those different markets.
What a diverse market. Kevin, so I want to talk a little more about the Nationals, and it just worked out so well. I've wanted to have you on my show for a long time, and then the timing, as I indicated to you earlier today, is just beautiful that I'm having you on a few weeks after the Nationals' big championship. So it's the timing's just great here. When the Nationals lost star Bryce Harper to free agency after the 2018 season, Harper, as we know, signed with Philadelphia. What were the feelings inside the Nationals headquarters after Harper left? Was there a feeling that 2019 would be a pretty subpar season for the Nationals a year or so ago?
I don't think so. To be honest, we our front office on the baseball side of the business has done a really good job of making sure that our team is well stocked in the minor league system. And if you look at some of the guys that really perform well for us, the Juan Sotos and the Victor Robles of the world, and Trey Turner, those are all homegrown guys that we have started with from the very beginning of their careers. And so I don't think there was any worry that we were going to have a down year this year. Baseball is it's a funny sport. It's a long season. And sometimes, we certainly started off really slow, and it wasn't until mid-May when we were, I think it was like 19-25 when we finally started to turn things around. And sometimes you just need a few lucky breaks to sort of get things going, and that's kind of what happened.
Just an amazing year. We're going to talk more about it in a minute, the Nationals 2019 season. If you're just tuning in, Paul Schneiderman, host of Sports and Stuff on Rainier Avenue Radio.World with Washington Nationals executive Kevin Hill, with my engineer James Gerd today. Kevin, by the way, do you interact with the players much in your senior position?
We do a few things. Some of our partners will have player appearances involved with some of the players through our relationship with those companies. Some of our partners have direct relationships with those players, and so there certainly is some interaction with them. But our main focus is for the players certainly is that they're performing well in the field, and so we try not to get the business side of it in too intermixed with them.
Well, Kevin, next time I'm in Washington, D.C., I expect you to take Steve Strasburger out to dinner, right, Kevin?
Well, we certainly hope he's back this coming season. Yes.
Well, that's another question. I'm having fun. I have none of those expectations. So the Nationals started 1931 this season, and I read that when the Nationals were about 1931, some of the pundits gave your team a 1.5% chance to win the World Series. It sort of reminded me a little bit of the Sonics 77-78 season when the Sonics started 5-17 and got the championship. What was there any cynicism in the Nationals headquarters when that was going on, when your team was about 12 games under 500?
I don't think so. I think there's always, at least at that point in time, there was still belief that we were going to turn things around. Now, if we had gotten to the All-Star break and things were still not looking so great, then sure there may have been some changing of those opinions, but I think at that point in time things were still positive, and it really just all emanates from the clubhouse, and our manager Davey Martinez, and he built just a great culture down there, and that culture emanates throughout the entire organization.
It's just such a great story, the Nationals 2019 season, and you may have a bias when you answer this question, a healthy bias that is, but let me ask you something. So this come from behind national story where they started off 1931, which is, I don't know, close to a third of the season, and they came back and won all these playoff series. Do you think this was the best team comeback issue of any professional team in this century, the last 19 years or so, Kevin?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, it's certainly it's just got to be right up there at the top, and it's not just starting from back in May. I mean, it's every round of the postseason we were down. We were at an elimination game. We we faced the improbable. We had to win on the road in Houston to close the thing out. So I think if you look at the entirety of the season, I think it's got to be top three at least.
Oh, I would think so too. And I mean, going back to the 20th century, that's 100 years right there. So it's hard to go back that far and look at pro team comebacks. But just speaking as a fan 3,000 miles away in Seattle, where you grew up, it's just an amazing story.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And DC was just, the entire city was just waiting for us to do something. We've had so many chances. Since I've been here in 2012, we've been knocked out of the first round 3 or 4 times, and there were such high expectations for us in those previous years to advance, and we just couldn't get the right ball to bounce the right way. Things just happened in baseball, and finally it was our turn to have something go right.
Kevin, let me go back to your career for a minute. Let's do a little rewind. Do you miss the golf industry at all, or did you feel when you took the Nationals job in 2012 it was time for a career change?
I love the golf industry. I would certainly consider going back into it. There's a bunch of great people that work in that business. It's a lot of fun, and I certainly still follow it really closely. Sure.
I've known you've been a golf fan for a long time. Just tuning in, Paul Schneiderman, host of Sports and Stuff on RainierAvenueRadio.world with baseball marketing executive Kevin Hill. We're already about halfway done, believe it or not. The timing of these shows, the time just goes so fast. So, Kevin, we hear about the tension in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's not just during the Trump era, but there's always disputes between the political parties, and there's always contention going on in D.C. I did an internship back in D.C. when I was in college back in the 90s, so I've spent some time in the District of Columbia. There's a national perspective that the whole red, blue, purple thing kind of calmed down a tad bit because there was a lot of unity in D.C. with people rooting for the Nationals of different political beliefs. Is that what you've sensed, Kevin, living right in D.C.? Have you found some healthy unity in a way with the Nationals' victory?
I I would like to think so. I wouldn't say that our day-to-day business here is impacted much by the kind of the craziness that's happening on Capitol Hill.
Sure.
But I would certainly like to think that both with what we did this year and what the Caps did in the past, that there was an opportunity for people just to become fans of those teams and not let all the political stuff get in the way of that.
So it's been a kind of a nice little digression in a way. Is that a way to break it down, maybe, in D.C.?
Absolutely.
That's good. Hey, Kevin, so the Washington Nationals have a historic tie to the Montreal Expos franchise. As we know, the Nationals moved, I believe, from Montreal in about 2005. Is the Montreal Expos history embraced by the Nationals organization, or is it kind of a taboo thing not to bring up a whole lot around national
we
service?
definitely embrace it. We definitely embrace it. We actually had an Expos Day here this past season where we wore the old school powder blue Expos jerseys on the field, which was fantastic. And if you look at our sort of Hall of Fame players that we have up on within the Stadium Bowl, we've got Andre Dawson, Gary Carter, and Tim Raines up there. So we definitely recognize that that's where this organization started. And for me personally, it's kind of fun. I was always a huge Gary Carter fan. And so it's kind of fun to see his name up there on the wall.
Andre Dawson, Gary Carter, they're just some great members of the Montreal Expos. I can't forget the name Rusty Staub either. There are a whole bunch of
absolutely,
a whole bunch of fun Expos players. Right. That's interesting that the Nationals organization has taken steps to embrace the history of the franchise. If I can throw a little shot here, I don't see the Oklahoma City Thunder wanting their players to wear Sonic uniforms. So.
No, that's and I'm fine with that. Perfectly honest, I think we hold on to that in Seattle, and hopefully that comes back to us. Speaking
of the Montreal Expos, Kevin, you work in the baseball marketing field. If the MLB expands one day, you think Montreal's a front runner to get a franchise?
I could see it happening. I mean that from what I understand, that city's made some strides in trying to woo MLB back. So yeah, I could see it happening.
It would strike me as being kind of a logical city to have an MLB franchise again. I read once, I think Montreal is the largest city in North America to not have a Major League Baseball franchise. Who knows? Maybe Montreal and Portland one day. You never know, huh?
Well, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Vegas could be in the discussion, but we'll have to see. But I'd like to see Montreal get a team back. Paul Schneiderman again on sports and stuff on Rainier Avenue Radio.world with Washington Nationals marketing executive Kevin Hill. Okay, Kevin, so like I mentioned earlier, I've spent some time in Washington, D.C. I know the area a little bit, not as well as you. And I remember when I was back in D.C. over the years, this is before the Nationals were formed, that there were a lot of D.C. baseball fans that had season tickets, went to Orioles games. Is there still a big constituency of D.C. fans going to Orioles games, or has it been depleted a little bit since the Nationals were formed?
That's a great point. I think when the team first moved here, there certainly were people that grew up as Oriole fans in the city because that was the closest team that they really had to root for, and now I can honestly say that I think we've turned a bunch of those Orioles fans into Nationals fans. One of the great things about working for the Nationals is that we don't have the 100+ year history that the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Yankees have, and so a lot of what we do on the business side of things is we're all about building our fan base, and so those kids that are 10, 11, 12 years old that have a Nationals hat on, we hope that those are going to be our season plan holders, 20 years down the line. And so it's really fun to be, part of that sort of fan base building team here at the Nationals.
And the Orioles National Series, I understand, Kevin, has become a pretty decent interleague rivalry these days. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It's the Orioles they had a down year this year, but there's been some seasons where both teams have been right in the playoff hunt, and we always play every year. We play 2 here and 2 there, and those are usually very well attended games.
Yeah, what is it? Maybe maybe a 45-minute train ride from Union Station to Camden Yards. About Kevin, is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, it's probably a shorter train ride. Definitely a 45-minute drive, so it's not far away at all.
And Camden Yards is a nice stadium too.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I always remember that from Ken Griffey Jr. hitting that long home run during the home run derby.
Good memory. Kevin, when I was in D.C., I was told, again, this is many years ago, to be really careful going into Southeast D.C., the Anacostia neighborhood. It was seen as a part of D.C. that was not always very safe. I understand that the stadium has played a role in revitalizing that area. Do you have any insights on that, Kevin?
I certainly do, actually. The entire city in and of itself has changed completely since you've been here, and it's a fantastic city. The area down here in the Navy Yard that you referenced is definitely changed. There's tons of bars and restaurants and office buildings and condos. I actually now live down here. So I walk to work. I've got a 5-minute walk along the Anacostia River, which is kind of fun. And it's turned into a destination, and it's a thriving neighborhood. And the Nationals are one of the anchor tenants here. The DC United actually just built their brand new stadium here last year, and so they're our neighbor, and it's booming here.
You're part of an urban renaissance in DC. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Paul Schneiderman again on sports and stuff on RainierAvenueRadio.world with Washington Nationals marketing executive Kevin Hill. Having a fun conversation about Kevin's career and the Washington Nationals. It's fun being 3,000 miles away and kind of getting some insights about the championship year that the Nationals had. By the way, Kevin, I'm going to rewind again. Was there any particular course you took at Ohio State University in the sports management program you really enjoyed?
I work in sponsorship, so I would definitely say that anything that I was really focused on the sponsorship industry in and of itself was probably the most interesting to me. I'd say that and just general event management principles are two that I've taken all the way through my career.
Did a lot of your professors, Kevin, at Ohio State, had a lot of them worked in the sports industry?
From what I remember, most of them were primarily just in the academic field all the way through their careers. But they certainly had relationships with a lot of companies and organizations within the sports field. So they would be able to bring them in as, guest speakers, et cetera.
Yeah, I know that's a great program at Ohio State University in the sports management field. That's a great school. You like Columbus, Ohio a lot?
I did. I really loved it, and I'm still a Buckeye fan, and follow them pretty closely.
Yeah, I went to the Rose Bowl last year watching Ohio State manhandle Washington. That was a tough one to swallow, but great public university, Ohio State. So, Kevin, we talked a little earlier about Strasburg. I was kidding around that you're going to take me and Strasburg to dinner, but I'm reading that Strasburg, Howie Kendrick, Anthony Rendon, Ryan Zimmerman, there's all sorts of free agents. Do you have any behind-the-scenes insights? What's going to happen with some of these Nationals free agents?
I wish I did, and if I did, I don't know if I could probably share it. But the only thing I will say is that Mike Rizzo, who actually just won Executive of the Year in baseball yesterday, I believe it was. He's a fantastic general manager, and I think everybody here trusts that he knows what he's doing, and regardless of what happens with any of those players, I think he will have a great product for us on the field next season.
Should be fun. Anything you know about Fernando Rodney, the former Mariner? And I got to tell you something. Kevin. For a lot of Seattle baseball fans, not just myself, watching Fernando Rodney play well in the NLCS, it was like life is funny, isn't it?
It really is, and I even though I work for the Nationals and live out in DC, I'm always going to be a Mariner fan, and I keep hoping one of these days that organization will kind of right the ship and get back to the glory days. Some of my fondest memories were in the '95 Mariners, just with the Griffey and Edgar and all those guys.
No doubt that was a great era of Seattle baseball. But it's fun to have a guy like Rodney get a World Series ring. It was.
Well, we also had Strickland on the team and Elias, and so it's.
That's right.
Yeah, Mariners helped us get there.
A couple other guys. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for reminding me of some other players. Kevin, anything else about your job at the Nationals you want to share that the listeners may find interesting?
No, I think the interesting thing for me is that I do work I'm at every single baseball game here at Nationals Park, and I also go to a few away games, and so it's the baseball season is a grind, and it's while it may seem somewhat glamorous from the outside, it's definitely it's a lot of work, and we work a full day job during the day, and stick around for the games at night, so. It's been fun. It's a lot of work, but certainly well worth it when you win the World Series.
Obviously, winning the World Series is probably your best memory of the Nationals' great run. Can you throw another little tidbit or two of a great memory you have personally of the Nationals' playoff World Series run?
I think, to be honest, probably the best thing about the entire World Series experience was having people like yourself, a bunch of other friends back in Seattle, just follow what was going on with the team out here. In fact, I actually had there's three buddies of ours, as you know, Rich Menti, Ben Coyne, and Rob Weber. They were able to come out for the 3 home games that we had here during the World Series and experience that whole stretch of games with myself, and it was a lot of fun to go through that World Series experience with 3 close friends, and then to have everybody back home. The moment we won the World Series, I must have had like 200 plus text messages from people back home, and just to feel that love and support was really cool. No
doubt about it. I spoke to those 3 aforementioned guys you mentioned. They just love me back in Washington, D.C. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on Sports and Stuff on RainierRadio.world. Fun to learn more about your career and get your take on the Nationals as an employee of the organization. I really appreciate coming on today, and you and I will definitely be in touch.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Appreciate the offer, and look forward to catching up.
Likewise. You take care, Kevin.
All right. Bye-bye.